Please help me welcome to the cage, Carlos Andres. Or Brandon Clark, whichever's ready.
All right, Brandon Clark, I believe, is going to make the walk out of Palmer, Texas. You're allowed a few strikes before you're called out. We just had a couple foul tips right there.
There we go. We got the right guys walking to the cage now. We have the announcer in the cage that I can see, so I think we're about to have a pro fight here, TJ. And
absolutely.
I can't believe that I've had this much fun and I haven't seen a pro fight yet.
No, I know. This has been action-packed from the word go, and I can't think of a much better way to spend my Saturday night than by your side here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And these athletes have definitely come to fight, and Brandon Clark, he's the next man up, if you will, making the walk for the 5th time in his career. Coming off the first win of his professional campaign.
And making us wait a little bit.
The pros get to, walk on their own time.
That's right. They have a little bit of seniority.
They're in demand, if you will.
There you go.
Right. Last fight out for Brandon Clark. He got a victory by TKO in round number 2. That was back in December on Ragin FC 4. You got to think, having that O in the win column hanging over him, not only was it good to get his hand raised, but good to finally get on the right track as a pro. Maybe some weight off of his shoulders.
Absolutely, yeah. When you start to string together a losing streak, it's never a good place to be, and when that gets snapped, is it ever a wonderful feeling? He'll be looking to compound that momentum here tonight.
You know what's better than winning one fight in mixed martial arts?
Winning 2 in a row.
Exactly. Brandon Clark going to be arriving into this red-hot Lake Charles Event Center, and it really has been red hot. I mean, I make humidity jokes all day long as I'm not used to this type of weather, but it's been a hot crowd tonight, and they've been very appreciative of the action that's taken place here inside the cage.
Yeah, this hometown crowd has really showed up for all their fighters. There was a little bit of air let out of the tires with the Tyler Reed knockout, but it seems like everybody is back in their seats now and ready to rip and roll for these pro fights.
All right, here he comes now, Brandon Clark, making the walk. I love the pyro and the stage here. It's very Pride FC-like.
It's very cool.
And here he comes, Brandon Clark out of Palmer, Texas. Child in hand. Definitely want to show out for the kids. There have been a lot of performances, I think, that might inspire the next generation of mixed martial artists.
In many ways, yeah. Adds pressure to the fighter, though. You don't want to lose in front of your child, so as if you need any more pressure to step inside of a cage, right?
Oh, exactly. See what Brandon Clark can do. Mentioned he's dropped a couple in his career, most of which have come by way of decision. Final preparations for the Texas native. When was your first MMA event that you attended?
The first one I ever went to was a regional. Shout out to my friend Nick Smiley, fought as the heavyweight champion on that. It was in a small high school gym in Statesboro, Georgia. I cannot even remember the name of the promotion, but I was hooked after that, TJ. And then the first big event I went to was Nick Diaz versus Anderson Silva in Las Vegas. I think it was UFC 183, if memory serves.
I think Nick Diaz laid down in the middle of that fight.
That is exactly right, the famous lay down.
I'll tell you my first MMA event here in a moment. With Brandon Clark ready to go, time for his opponent to make the walk back to Colin Cantrell.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, his opponent makes his way to the cage representing Cobra, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Carlos Andres.
It's been a good night for the Alabama natives thus far here at Ragin FC, and the next one is making the walk now, representing Cobra BJJ. Out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Carlos Andres, undefeated as a pro, hunts for his 4th victory here tonight. First MMA event I ever went to. You would call it a regional show because it was, but in the main event, Jens Pulver, first fight after having contract dispute with the UFC, was still technically the reigning lightweight champion. He fought a guy named Robert Emerson, who was known for fighting his way to the UFC, and it was Robert Emerson's first ever pro fight. It was on a volleyball court in Fridley, Minnesota.
No kidding. What a story, man.
I didn't even know what I was going to. I just got free tickets from the radio
UFC
station.
UFC champ fighting on a volleyball court. That's something you don't hear every day.
Very strange, very strange. Carlos Andres, he hopes to become a champion in due time. So far, so good. As I mentioned, he's undefeated, and we've already seen one Alabama native get a huge win here tonight in Louisiana, and I guess for Andres, he wants to continue and have the tide roll on.
And if I'm not mistaken, the new champion is in his corner with his gloves still on, I might add. So he'll be looking to capitalize, Andreas will, some of that Tuscaloosa magic that we just saw happen a few minutes ago.
You know, I don't think I've ever seen a cornerman still have their gloves on or have gloves on.
It's a tight turnaround.
That's a tight haircut, I might say, as well. Would you call that a mullet? Not really.
I think he's entering mullet territory for sure. He's mullet adjacent.
Well, he's going to try to be all business inside the cage and maybe have a little bit of a celebration later in the back. I'm resorting to mullet humor right now, Steven.
There you go.
We're reaching deep in the bag.
Business in the fight, party at the end, so to speak.
Something like that. You know, unfortunately for me, all I can have is a skullet, they call it. There's no business in the front.
Have you ever played around with growing it out?
No, but my hair abandoned me because I used to dye it all funny colors.
There you go.
I used to put it straight up in the air with like glue.
So then it was like, you know what, joke's on you.
Yeah, it dipped out real quick. 33% knockout rate, 67% finishing rate overall for Carlos Andres. I mentioned he's undefeated, so he has never been finished. See if he can showcase those skills here tonight as we are set for our first professional fight of the evening, live from Lake Charles, Louisiana, here for Ragin FC 6. Carlos Andres steps in the cage, ready to go to work. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape for this bantamweight bout. 3 5-minute rounds here in the professional class. 34 years old is Brandon Clark, a bit older than his opponent, Carlos Andres. Clark stands 3 inches taller, both on point for this bantamweight bout, under 135 pounds for Clark, 135.6 for Andres. 5-inch reach advantage for Brandon Clark. And we'll see who ends up the victor on the other side. For the official introductions, we go to Colin Cantrell.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first professional fight of the evening is being brought to us by Zero FG Energy. Fueling the action all night long, Zero FG Energy, the official energy drink of the Raging Fighting Championships. Ladies and gentlemen, this fight's scheduled for 3 rounds of 5 minutes each in the Ragin FC Bantamweight division. Introducing first on my right, fighting out of the Benoit Chevrolet blue corner. He stands 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighed in at 133 pounds. His record stands 1 win against 3 defeats. Fighting out of Palmer, Texas, Brendan Killswitch Clark. And across the cage on my left, fighting out of the Cajun AC red corner. He stands 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighing at 135 1/2 pounds. His record is unblemished, 3 wins against no defeats. Fighting out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Carlos Andres. Referee in charge of the action, Chris Hill.
Chris Hill getting this bantamweight assignment. It is Brandon Clark and Carlos Andres. TJ DeSantis along with Stephen Barnhill. Live tonight inside the Lake Charles Event Center in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Andres in the black, Clark in the longer black shorts.
And these two are wasting no time getting after it. Some big shots from both guys. Clark really looking to mix up the kicks here. Outside leg kick, body kick. And Andres stalking.
Mentioned that 5-inch reach advantage for Brandon Clark. Trying to put it to use early.
So far, he's done a pretty good job of it with the leg kicks and the jab.
Good right hand over the top there.
Andres is still trying to find his way in. He's doing a good job of cutting off the cage and not over-committing, but he still hasn't found his range just yet.
Had a good left hand a moment ago, did Andres.
That kick to the body is working really well for Clark.
Ooh, good combination of punches by Andres. Clark loaded up on that right hand, but ate a kick to the lead leg. Gives a kick of his own. You can see some confidence growing in the corner here of Carlos Andres.
Yeah, he's starting to find his range here. He's not on the outside of those punches where he was in the beginning of the fight.
Good kick to that lead leg of Andres.
Both guys wearing it a little bit on the face. This has been some good action in the first 2 minutes.
Ooh, really sat down on that left-handed Clark. Launched off a kick to the body of Andres.
Andres is tough, man. He's eating a few of those big body kicks. You don't even see much on his face in the way of grimacing or anything like that.
A lot of pop on these strikes from both gentlemen. Coming up on the halfway point of this opening round.
Both gentlemen working the inside leg kick to a pretty high level. Clark is really popping those body kicks, though. Straight to the body for Clark, followed up by a jump kick for Andres. And so far, both guys are trying to establish their range here. Andres trying to make his way in and start to fight on the inside, it seems, and Clark really comfortable at that range.
The right hand from Clark has found a home. You can see some swelling on the face of Andres.
And a little blood on the nose of Clark as well. I think it was one of those hooks that Andres landed up close that was what did it.
Takedown here for the Alabama native. Coming up on 90 seconds remaining here in the opening round.
Andres doing a good job of, trying to be tenacious towards that back.
Able to get back upright here as Clark. See how Andres wants to approach this waist lock in the back of that hamstring.
Clark working on breaking the grip there. So far, not much success. And then Andres is doing a good job with the knees and then trying to off balance a little bit.
Briefly swept that leg out of Clark. And now a big takedown with some elevation by Andres.
That was a very nice off balancing takedown there.
Left hook in. Trying to turn back into Andres' Clark, and now able to make some space and get free. Ooh.
Clark's right back to what's working for him with those body kicks.
Yeah, Andres did a good job of trying to steal some of the momentum of the fight, but Clark undeterred and back upright. Closing 10 seconds of the opening round.
Pretty good fight so far, TJ. Both guys have been able to work their game plans in various different parts.
Yeah, I can't say enough about how good the matchmaking has been all night, and our first professional bout proves to be evenly matched as well, as a competitive first round is officially in the books.
Yeah, very good fight so far, back and forth. I think Clark was kind of pulling away a little bit with some of the body work that he was doing with some of the kicks. But again, Andres had a nice takedown and maintained control there for just a second. So good first round all in all. I definitely want to see how the range battle plays out in the second round to see if Andres can close the distance, because where he did have success was when he got on the inside of Clark, but he wasn't doing a whole lot when Clark was keeping him at range.
Seeing some of the action from that opening round. The fight did hit the floor, courtesy of Andres. Nice elevated takedown there. Was it enough to secure the first round of the judges' scorecards? Well, we've got a long ways yet to go. 5 down, 10 to go in this professional fight. Bantamweight's inside the Ragin FC cage. Again, TJ DeSantis along with Stephen Barnhill. Appreciate you joining us live on the Clear Life app. Round 2 underway. Yeah, despite having a reach disadvantage, Andres just trying to get in the face of Clark here.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing he can do, is try to get him back up against the cage and then get on the inside of that range. That's where he's landing his best shot. He's got some nice short hooks. That was a nice inside low kick there. And he's also stringing together the takedowns well once he gets in close.
It sounds funny to say, but, you know, for some fighters, it's hard to mix the martial arts, to think about being a striker and a grappler at the same time. And I think Andres has done a very good job at mixing up his strikes and then immediately going into the takedown department.
You know, when you really strip down what the sport, the definition of mixed martial arts, it's the actual mixing of the arts together into one thing that's kind of a thing in and of itself. And when you can strike and grapple in the same sequence and do both effectively, you're on the right track. And Andres is doing a great job here in the second round.
It's not just a name, it's kind of the whole point.
Exactly.
See what Andres can do here inside the half guard.
Yeah, it seems like Clark is trying to get that butterfly hook inside and get it a little bit more active to look for a sweep here, or at least create a scramble opportunity.
Was briefly able to make some space, but Andres staying on top of him, not giving up his back as Clark.
Yeah, Clark's trying to build his base to get back to his feet. Temporarily gave the back there, but let's see if Andres, he had a great mat return, and again with the outside leg trip. He's really good with the re-returns to the mat once he gets his opponent down. It's very demoralizing too. You get taken down, and then you do all this effort and burn all this energy to get back up, and then they take you right back down again.
Stephen, you're a martial artist yourself. We talk about the length and reach, obviously, in the striking department, but is it harder to control a taller fighter in the grappling game?
It totally depends on what their game is, what your game is, how it matches up stylistically. You know, shorter guys are harder to submit. They're a little bit more compact. But you could also look at the other side of that coin, and, you know, longer guys have long limbs. They got great darces, anacondas, triangles. They can be really problematic from the guard and from the bottom position. But it's, you know, both of these men are using their strengths to their advantage. You know, Andres 5'5", compact, getting inside, using body locks, using off balancing, and then Clark in the first round, you know, using his reach to keep the striking at a range that was favorable to him. So it really, I guess that was a roundabout way of answering your question. It kind of depends on the orientation and style of your opponent as well.
So far in the second round, the grappling of Andres has sort of dictated the pace thus far, trying to peel those hands away and get out of this waist lock as Clark.
Yeah, Andres is putting together quite a nice round here in the second.
Able to turn back on the inside is Clark, but he's taken down for his troubles. Lands an elbow to the side of the head of Andres. Under 90 seconds remain here in the opening round, or second round rather.
You know, it'll be interesting to see how these guys come out as far as energy is concerned in the third round if we do get past the last minute here. Because sometimes it can surprise you. You would think the guy that's fighting off the bottom would be the more tired one, but when you're chaining together takedown initiatives and trying to keep somebody down, that drains the gas tank as well.
Another look at the back here for Andres.
Renzo Gracie style, threading the foot inside there. Renzo used to famously hit that takedown. And he just drags Clark down into the back.
Both hooks in. Able to get back upright is Brandon Clark.
I'm really impressed with the grappling tenacity of Andres here. He's got a wide skill set. You can see that he's very well versed in jiu-jitsu even with some of the stuff he's doing in the transition, but he also has good wrestling, which a lot of times jiu-jitsu guys can be very effective. And his team, I believe, does say something BJJ.
Cobra
BJJ, that's it. But, you know, his BJJ doesn't do that much for you unless you can get the takedown and get the fight where you want it to the ground. And Andres is seemingly able to do both.
A lot of BJJ schools, they start rolling on their knees. And they don't really work the takedowns. But speaking of knees, Andres ate one there at the end of the second round. But again, a competitive affair. A little more in the way of Andres, though, with the grappling game. I think potentially could be even after two.
Yeah, I have it 1-1, TJ, and I think Andres is clearly proving that he's the better grappler here and certainly the better with positional control. We'll see what happens. I think the third round is really going to come down to who can implement their game plan and take the fight where they want to take it. Now, Clark must keep this thing standing. He's got somewhat of an advantage there, especially at kickboxing range, but it seems if Andres gets inside and gets double unders, he could run away with it.
See the corner of Andres, paying attention to the left side of his face. That's where the swelling has been caused from the right hand of Brandon Clark. Doesn't really look to be too much of a problem, and Clark wearing some of the damage as well. Both these guys giving as well as they've been receiving. Final 5 minutes, ready to go. What a night it's been here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. TJ DeSantis along with Stephen Barnhill. Appreciate you joining us for Ragin FC 6.
Nice uppercut there for Clark. And Andres comes right back with some beautiful short hooks.
And Clark might be wise to try to just make this a dogfight and get Andres into a scrap that maybe he forgets his grappling a little bit and tries to just wing with him.
Yeah, as long as he can do it at range, because it seems like every time Andres, beautiful single there for Andres. That was not telegraphed whatsoever. Andres a really tenacious grappler, man.
It says Pitbull on his shorts. Those dogs are known for being relentless, and he's been relentless with his takedown all night.
We've had some good fight names, and I think there was the Crow, the Pitbull, some very fitting fight names.
See some blood flowing from that nose of Brandon Clark. Action right here in front of us. Almost standing on his head there a moment ago was Clark. Guard open up here.
Yeah, Brandon Clark breaking the posture of Andres down, but in reality, especially with 3.5 minutes to work, he needs to try to get this fight back to the feet at all costs, try to work one of those butterfly hooks back in and see if he can get himself a sweep. Because otherwise, Andres, I think, is content rinsing and repeating here. He's got good top pressure, and unless you force him off you, he's going to stay right there.
Clark giving up his back. Once again, he's done that a few times tonight. He's able to get back upright.
He's using it to get to his feet, but unfortunately for him, Andres is just bringing him right back down.
Two minutes of elapsed time here in this third and final round. You talk about the cardio output of Andres. I mean, he has not slowed down at all.
And another good takedown there. Looks like Clark took a look at the clock there for a second. Both these guys expending a lot of energy.
Well, at this time as well, if you're Brandon Clark, you might have two opponents. One, Andres, the other being time itself.
Yes, he doesn't have a whole lot of time to pull it together here, and he's clearly losing this round with, you know, two plus here to go.
See if he's got some tricks off of his back here as we're in the full guard.
Yeah, Andres is doing a really good job of just keeping Clark's body just locked down. That's a very tough place to be, and now he's in the half guard position. It's not necessarily that Clark is doing anything wrong. Andres is just shutting him down as the superior grappler here.
Yeah, Clark trying to do anything he can to induce a scramble, get back upright, but Andres just not letting him have any space.
He's got the near side of Clark's body locked down with the half guard, and then he's kind of got the far side of his body locked down with that, you know, head pressure that he's got on the face. So he's kind of keeping his opponent stationary and locked down and right where he wants him. The cross face is kind of doing it up top for him.
Closing in on the final minute of the fight. You see Clark just trying to cover up the mouth and disrupt the breathing of Carlos Andres.
I believe
nice
they
shoulder shrug.
Call it the smother choke. I've actually seen a few people hit that in jiu-jitsu. It's a...
With just the hand?
No, you kind of need to bring the head almost to the body and make a little cocoon without oxygen, if you will.
The 10th Planet kids call it mother's milk.
Yeah, I kind of refuse to call it that.
Yeah, it's weird. 30 seconds left in the fight.
Andres looking to pass the half guard here and do some more damage before this thing comes to a conclusion.
And I think we're seeing why Carlos Andres is undefeated. He gets his game going and he just doesn't let you get back in the fight.
Yeah, he's tenacious. He's good on the inside. He's great with wrestling, and he's good with positional control. Would have liked to see him hunt a few more subs, but here we go at the end of the fight. Let's see if he can do something.
That's a wrap. 15 minutes in the books. Tenacious with the takedowns and wrestling was Carlos Andres. Clark had some moments on the feet, but unfortunately for him was not able to keep the fight at range. Let's take a look at some of the action from that third round. Stephen, walk us through.
Yeah, you know, Andres has done a good job. In the first round, he was having trouble with the range. You know, he wasn't able to get inside on Clark, which is why I did give the first round to Clark. And then he was able to make the necessary adjustments and get inside, open up the grappling with his striking, which I think he did a great job of now directly above us here on the cage. But he's, you know, he's a very tenacious grappler. He's got good wrestling. He clearly has good positional understanding. He can transition with his opponent wherever his opponent wants to go. It's almost like my jiu-jitsu professor, Draculino, Vinicius Draculino, always says that the customer's always right. So if they want to go this way, if they want to give the back, let them have it. If you keep mount on them and they're content staying there, that's fine too. So the customer's always right mentality in jiu-jitsu goes a long way. And Mr. Andres certainly understands that to a deep level.
And it goes back to really wrestling and grappling being the cornerstone of mixed martial arts. If you control where the fight takes place, more often than not, you're awarded with the decision.
When you look at who the best of all time are, you're very hard-pressed to find ones that can't grapple well.
Judges tallying their 10s and 9s. The official decision is in. It lies with Colin Cantrell.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 hard-fought rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. The judges scored the fight 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28. All 3 for your winner by unanimous decision, Carlos Andres.
Carlos Andres getting the decision unanimous across.